Hello, this is Slate with Combo of Rocks, bringing you another video deck tech of a deck that we built by request and have one for sale in the TikTok shop. If you're not familiar with us, we make and sell custom budget EDH decks. These decks are light on the budget, so they may not be optimal or competitive, but they're definitely fun and centered around a central theme that you can build on. Today we have the Master of Keys, which is X blue, black, white for a 3/3 legendary enchantment creature horror with flying. When it enters, put X 1/1 counters on it and mill twice X cards. Each enchantment in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to that card's mana cost, plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So this is an enchantment heavy deck, but let's get into it. We have Enchanted Evening, which is 3 blue-white hybrid for an enchantment. All permanents are enchantments in addition to their other types. To destroy our opponent's permanents with things that destroy enchantments. We do have enchantments that sacrifice to destroy other enchantments, so on and so forth. So we can destroy our opponent's lands with this. Legions of the Ashes, 1 black-white for a sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent opponent controls and all tokens that player controls with the same name as that permanent. Just a good way to get rid of a bunch of tokens or just one permanent. Ghostly Dancers, 3 white for a 2/5 spirit with flying. When it enters, return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand or unlock a door of a room you control. It's got Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters and whenever you fully unlock a room, create a 3/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Mesa Enchantress, 1 white for a 0/2 human druid. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may draw a card. Elspeth Conquers Death, 3 white for a 3 chapter saga. Chapter 1, exile target permanent opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. Chapter 2, non-creature spells your opponent's control cost 2 mana to cast until your next turn. And 3, return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on it or a loyalty counter on it. Lots of value here. A good one to keep casting over and over in a game. Archon of Sun's Grace, 2 white for a 3/4 Archon with flying and lifelink. Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying. Ondu Spirit Dancer, 4 white for a 3/3 core cleric. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, you can create a token that's a copy of it. Do it only once each turn, though. Spectacular Pile Up, 3 white for a sorcery. All creatures and vehicles lose indestructible until end of turn. Then destroy all creatures and vehicles with cycling for 2. Solitary Confinement, this is a fun one. 2 white enchantment on your upkeep. Sack it unless you discard a card. Skip your draw step. You have Shroud and prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. If you want to draw cards on your draw step, that's fine. Just allow this to be sacked and then recast it from your graveyard with Master of Keys abilities. Promise of Loyalty, 4 white sorcery. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacks the rest. Each of those creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control as long as you have a vow counter on it. Sun Titan, 4 white for a 6/6 giant with vigilance. When it enters or attacks, return a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Just a good way to get permanents back. Protean Thaumaturge, 1 blue for a 1/1 human wizard with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters, you can have it become a copy of another target creature, except it has this ability. Copy Land, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. You can have it enter as a copy of any land except as an enchantment in addition to its other types. Just a good way to snag a land with this. Maybe a really good land on the battlefield. Entity Tracker, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 human scout with flash. Whenever an enchantment you control enters and whenever you fully unlock a room, draw a card. Laboratory Drudge, 3 and a blue for a 3/4 zombie horror. On each end step, draw a card if you've cast a spell from a graveyard or activated ability of a graveyard this turn. Doomwake Giant, 4 and a black for a 4/6 enchantment creature giant. When it or another enchantment enters, creatures your opponent's control get -1/-1 until end of turn. We have Solemn Simulacrum, 4 mana for a 2/2 when it enters, search for a basic land, put on the battlefield tapped. When it dies, draw a card. And as the mana rocks, we have Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Azuria Signet, Dimir Signet, Orzhov Signet, Talisman of Progress, Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Hierarchy, Firemind Vessel adds 2 mana of different colors. Everflowing Chalice can be kicked for 2 colorless to add an additional colorless for each time it was kicked. Worn Power Stone taps for 2 colorless. Wayfarer's Bauble, this is like a colorless Rampant Growth. Navigation Orb, our colorless Cultivate, can also fetch gates, which is important. There are some gates in the deck. Mind Stone, 2 mana, taps for colorless, 1 tap, sack, draw a card. Prismatic Lens, 2 mana, adds a colorless. You can also pay 1 mana to filter it into a mana of any color. And Collector's Vault, 2 mana artifact, 2 tap, draw a card, discard a card, create a treasure token. Intimidation Campaign, 1 blue-black, an enchantment. When it enters, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life and draw a card. Whenever you commit a crime, you can return this to your hand. Skull Snap Nuisance. Blue-black for a 1/4 insect skeleton when flying. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 1. Fear of Infinity. 1 blue-black for a 2/2 enchantment creature nightmare with flying and lifelink. It can't block. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, return it from your graveyard to your hand. Allseed of Life's Bounty. 1 white for a 1/1 enchantment creature nymph with lifelink. Pay 1, sack it. Target creature in enchantment you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Another good one to recur, protecting your creatures and enchantments. Dawnheart Geist. 1 and a white for 1/3 spirit warlock. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you can gain 2 life. Seal of Cleansing. 1 and a white enchantment. Sack it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Teferi's Care. 2 and a white enchantment. Pay a white, sack an enchantment, destroy an enchantment. This is a good one with the Enchanted Evening in play. Again, we can start sacking our enchantments to destroy our opponent's lands. 3 blue counters an enchantment spell. Arson's Aura. This is the same card, just a different name. So we've got 2 copies of it in the deck. Stroke of Midnight. 2 and a white instant. Destroys a non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1 white human creature token. Laboratory Maniac. So we can mill ourselves in this deck quite easily, especially with the following cards. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So we have Thassa's Devourer. 4 and a blue for a 2/6 enchantment creature elemental. Whenever it or another enchantment enters, target player mills 2 cards. We can mill ourselves with the Laboratory Maniac, or we can start milling our opponents. The option is yours. Scrabbling Skull Crab. 1 blue for a 0/3 crab skeleton. Whenever an enchantment enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, target player mills 2 cards. And Sage of Mysteries. 1 blue for a 0/2. Again, whenever an enchantment enters, target player mills 2 cards. Shoal Kraken. 4 and a blue for a 3/5 Kraken. Whenever an enchantment enters under your control, you can draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Secrets of the Dead. 2 and a blue. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. Ominous Roost. 2 and a blue enchantment. Whenever it enters, or whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying that can only block creatures with flying. Jace's Eraser. 1 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, you can have a player mill a card. Vessel of Paramnesia. 1 and a blue enchantment. Blue sack. Target player mills 3 cards, and then you draw a card. Chronic Flooding. 1 and a blue enchantments. Land. Enchant land. When it becomes tapped, the controller mills 3 cards. You usually want to do this on yourself, so you can mill yourself. Again, winning with cards like Laboratory Maniac. Thirst for Meaning. 2 and a blue instant. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment. Lunar Force. 2 and a blue enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you can this sacks, and then you counter that spell. This is a good one to bring back from your graveyard time and time again, countering your opponent's spells, sort of maybe putting them in a soft lock. Negate. 1 and a blue counters a non-creature spell. Disdainful Stroke. 1 and a blue counters a spell with mana value 4 or greater. Blightcaster. 3 and a black for a 2/3 human wizard. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you can have a creature get -2/-2 until end of turn. Death's Approach. 1 black for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets neg-X, where X is the number of creature cards in its controller's graveyard. Omen of the Dead. 1 black for a flash enchantment. When it enters, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. 2 black, sack, scry 2. Defiled Crypt and Cadaver Lab. 3 and a black. This is an enchantment room. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature, only once each turn. The other side is a black mana. Whenever you unlock it, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Balmerk Leech. 1 and a black for a 2/2 leech. Whenever enchantment or whenever you unlock a room, each opponent loses a life. Grim Guardian. Similar, but without the unlocking a room. Whenever enchantment enters, each opponent loses a life. Twisted Embrace. 2 black. You enchant a creature you control, destroys a creature a planeswalker an opponent controls, and the enchanted permanent gets +1/+1. World Weary. 3 black for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets -4/-4 with basic land cycling, 1 and a black. Into some lands, we have Glacial Fortress, Atakara Waste, Skycloud Expanse, Prairie Stream, Port Town, Sunken Hollow, River of Tears, Choked Estuary, Darkwater Catacombs, Nephalia Drownyard, can mill a player for 3 cards, Shine Shadow Snarl, Isolated Chapel, Caves of Koilos, Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Arcane Sanctum, Citadel Gates, these are the gates, Seagate, Black Dragon Gate, Esper Panorama, can be sacked to search for a plains, island, or swamp, and then a few of each basic here, plains, islands, and swamps. That's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time.